Hello, I'm Missy Howard, and thank you for tuning into the Trucker Barbie channel. This segment is the second segment on how much will you make as a straight truck expediter. As I discussed in the first segment, there are many variables, and I can only speak from experience, and so I'm just going to stick with that. I had left off in the previous video with negotiating empty move and deadhead bonuses. Whenever you are west of the Mississippi, for the exceptions of maybe Laredo, El Paso, and Los Angeles, you are going to have to negotiate empty move and deadhead bonuses about 99% of the time. For instance, let's say you pick up in Buffalo, New York, and your delivery is Seattle, Washington. When you expedite, there's not a lot of freight coming out of Seattle, Washington. Okay, so most likely you're going to have to empty move about 1,000 miles down to Los Angeles, California, specifically Ontario, California, which is about 40 miles east, okay, of Los Angeles, because that's where the truck stops are. And are you going to want to drive that for free? No, you're not. Because, and are you even going to want to drive that with the rate being 50 cents per mile to the truck? No, you're not. You're going to want to try to get at least 75 cents a mile, maybe even $1 a mile, if you can, okay, to get from Seattle down to Los Angeles, or specifically Ontario, California, which is near Los Angeles. Okay, so that you're going to make more money during that empty move from Seattle down toward the LA area. Okay, so that is something to consider, especially if you drive for like Panther, which only pays but pretty much the basic fuel surcharge that normally goes to the owner if they pay for fuel. All right, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 20 some odd cents a mile, which means the owner gets the fuel surcharge, but the drivers would have to drive from Seattle to LA for free. Okay, so in that situation, when you're negotiating that load, you're going to be like, I think I'm going to need an empty move from Seattle down to LA, and I think we're going to need an empty move bonus so that me and my team driver are able to make some money, because it's going to take about a day to get there from Seattle, okay, to get down toward Ontario, California, okay, and you don't want to have to drive that for free. Some drivers will, just to get the load. That is a very individual choice, but it's going to affect your bottom line, so you need to think about that. And as I said again, I have a video called The Magic Rectangle of Freight that explains the best areas for expediting and what to do when you're outside of those areas. And I want to talk a little bit about being west of the Mississippi in regards to Laredo, El Paso, and LA. I have sat for 3 days in Los Angeles waiting for a load. It does happen. And then again, I have dropped at 5 in the afternoon on a Thursday and gotten a load Friday morning right out of LA. Okay. That is a tricky area. You could end up sitting there for a while waiting on a load. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay. I'm not saying turn that load down. I'm just saying be prepared. You might be in for a 1, 2, 3 day wait. And the very same thing goes for El Paso. The longest I've ever waited in El Paso was about not quite 48 hours. Okay. The longest I've ever waited in Laredo was about 48 hours for a load. So, like I said, keep these things in mind. There are also things that are going to affect expedite freight. In the winter, snow and ice will affect expedite freight sometimes. Okay, because interstates get shut down sometimes, areas of certain interstates. And also flooding can affect expedite freight. It can affect all freight, which is going to eventually trickle down and affect expedite freight. You get the idea? So also in July, there are typically a lot of auto shutdowns, and expediters typically haul a lot of automotive freight. So around July the 4th is a really bad time to be out west in, say, Laredo or El Paso or Ontario / LA, California. because of those shutdowns, it might be a little slow getting out. And some of these auto plants shut down around July the 4th, and they stay closed for 7, 8, 9, 10 days. Okay? So you could be in for quite a wait. So those are the things that you want to keep in mind. Okay? So what you're going to make as an expediter is going to depend, like I said, on a number of factors. Like I said, it's going to depend on whether or not you're going to get paid anything for deadhead and empty move. At Panther, typically you don't, but at Panther, typically the trucks are doing $1.35 a mile. So that may compensate for some of that. But at XPO, the truck gets 50 cents per mile standard. Okay, that's without any negotiation for a deadhead or empty move bonus of 75 cents per mile or $1 per mile, right? And so that's going to depend on the carrier, how much they pay on deadhead and empty move, whether or not the truck makes $1.35 per mile, whether or not it makes $1.30 per mile. But I have found from talking to several drivers over the years, all expediting companies are basically the same. They all just have their little things, whether you can live with them or not. Some companies have a rider policy where you can take along a family or a friend on the road, and some do not. So these are the kind of issues that you have to look at. Also, the pet policies and things like that. So that's going to affect who you drive for as an owner, as far as owners go. That's going to affect the carriers that you drive for. And but as far as what you make from company to company, it's pretty much the same. And like I said, if you're going to be on the road for 4 weeks at a time and take no more than 4 to 7 days off, you can expect to average around $1,000 a week as a straight truck expediter. And like I said, there'll be differences in that. You'll have your slow weeks sometimes due to weather, whether it be snow, ice, or flooding, or auto shutdowns, or things that affect the automotive industry in general, such as companies just packing up and moving down to Mexico or Canada or whatever, moving out of the country. Those kind of things are going to affect you as well. But as a general rule, like I said, you're going to average around $1,000 a week if you're out for 4 weeks and you go home no more than 4 to 7 days.